I'm going to hand over to Mr. Valentine T. Please, just give a round of applause for Mr. T.
Oh, no, if I do well, you can clap for me after, not before I present. So you might clap for me and I won't do. I don't do it. Okay, thanks. All right, good morning. Welcome to Charter Quest. Good morning. I see some familiar faces. A good number of you. You don't speak to us anymore. When you were running, trying to become CGMAs, you were knocking our doors. Since you finished, you are Chartered Global Management Accountants. You don't even send us emails to say hi. But welcome to Charter Quest. I see almost 20% are previous students from Charter Quest. You're welcome. For those who are still joining us for the first time, you're also welcome to Charter Quest. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Valentine. I was not born 14 February. I was born in mid-November. But from 14 February to mid-November is 9 months. So you get a sense why I'm called Valentine. Okay, I'll be talking, my first part of my talk would be on the, I see the gentlemen are only laughing later. The ladies long knew why. My first part of my talk would be on the SAICA-CIMA agreement. We've been monitoring this, the talks about this agreement for the last 4 years. It only came out officially about 5-6 weeks ago. I must say I'm now wearing two hats. I'm wearing the hat of the CEO of Charter Quest, but I'm also wearing the hat of the managing editor of the Future CFO magazine, which is this magazine. In your pack, there is a magazine that we've provided to yourself. This second hat, what's the role of this magazine is to inform business career decisions, is to look for content, look for information, all those pertinent things that as a professional, mid-level, young professional, or at the executive level, you're wondering what is the right qualification, what is the right type of skills, how do I position myself. I'm the managing editor of this magazine, so we're always looking for content to help guide those decisions. So this second hat then says, I have to do as much as I can to bring you credible information, balanced information that you can engage with, probe, ask questions. We don't know everything. This agreement itself is a very, very new agreement. It was only signed 5 weeks ago. There's still a lot of uncertainties. The nature of the agreement itself says it's going to be for 5 years. SAICA and CIMA has come together and say, okay, we are two professional bodies with vastly different outlooks, but ultimately we want to build and grow the profession. So let's get together for 5 years and agree on a simplified pathway through which our members can become cross-members of each professional body. And let's see how it works for those 5 years. Until we are sure it works, it is benefiting CIMA, it is benefiting the professional body, only then can we seal it. So we have 5 years as an interim period during which we need to grab the opportunities which have been presented. So a lot of the questions that may arise, we're trying to also understand what are the questions which are going to come out from the floor. We want to use, if we see cameras everywhere, because we want to broadcast this and spread this information, get some of the information. The professional bodies, they are far out there. So we want to be the go-between us and this profession so we can listen to the questions. There are some that we would be able to answer here and now, we would answer. There are some that we will not be able to answer. We will tell you, look, we don't have answers to this. But we want to record that, take that to the relevant professional bodies, structure frequently asked questions, and then come back to you to make sure we spread that information and also generate content for the magazine while supporting you with the decisions that you need to determine whether you want to go ahead with the program or not. Okay, now having clarified that, perhaps I would like to just turn to this document. Let's just get to the meat of the agreement itself. There's a pack, amongst your pack is a course pack that we just made available to you. I would invite you to turn to page 2. I'm also now going to okay, in case you were to lose this document, I just want to show you where you're going to find on our website. I'm going to present straight from our website. If you go to our website, under studying, under programs, you see the very first tab there says SAICA to CIMA membership. That's where we have this document. I'm going to open it now and just talk you through the essence of this agreement. I'm sure some of you would have already read it and you have your own understanding, but let's try and provide some clarity to that. If you turn to page, see if I would like to zoom this. Okay, within this, we've tried to take that agreement and try and simplify that so you know in essence what it's all about. Within this, there are certain things which we know for sure, there are certain things which we don't know for sure. I'm going to guide you through. Essentially, this is saying, let me just quickly establish how many of you, I know there are two types of audience, CGMAs who are looking at becoming CASAs, and they're CASAs. I just want to get a sense of my audience. How many of you are CASAs wanting to become CGMAs? Just put up your hand up. Okay, so a vast majority is the other way around. So does this mean that CASAs are not keen to become CGMAs, but all the CGMAs want to become CASAs? How many of you are CGMAs wanting to become CASAs? Just put up your hand. Okay, I see. Okay, so let me spend my time then on this other leg, which is, there are two documents here. There is one for CGMAs wanting to become CASAs and the other one for CAS. I'll spend my time rather on this one because that is the nature of my audience. All right, on this page, here's the essence of the agreement. Maybe I should check here and start with the bad news. How many of you are within 0 to 2 years since you became CGMAs? Meaning your post-qualification, we only count experience after SAICA signed off that you are now a chartered global management accountant. How many of you is just been within the last 2 years? Shame. So this is the bad news for you. If your experience post-qualification is just within the last 2 years, you are not yet eligible to benefit from this new agreement. It means you probably need to wait for 1 more year or 2 more years.
Yeah, but if you maybe 10 years SAICA qualified.
I'm coming to 10 years. There are categories. This is 0 to 2, this is 3 to 5, this is 6 to 10, this is beyond 10. I'm starting with just this one. After I'll come to this.
Are you saying SAICA or do you talk SAICA and CGMA in the same context?
Yes, I'm using them interchangeably. ACMA, FCMA, CGMA, same context. Except I need to make one clarification, which I only learned 2 weeks ago. Remember the CGMA qualification outside of the US. They get it through studying for SAICA. But remember there's a special agreement for US, which is CPAs are allowed to gain that professional body in the US. As far to the best of my knowledge, if you became CGMA by going through that route of being a CPA, you are not allowed to benefit from this.
Sorry, just what's this?
So they are only referring to CGMAs. That's why if you see the agreement, it does not mention CGMA. It mentions ACMA. Because as I understand, there are people who can become CGMAs from the US who were first CPAs through that specific arrangement. So let's make it simple. It's about ACMA, not about CGMA. I presume everybody outside of the US, you were first ACMA before you become CGMA, right? Does that clarify? Does that help you? You're all aware that there's a special arrangement between SAICA and the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, which allows CPAs practicing in the US with more than 10 years work experience by a special agreement to gain the qualification of CGMA without having gone through the process. You're all aware of that. All this agreement is saying is those who got to CGMA through that route cannot benefit from this agreement. The rest of you should be able to benefit from the agreement. So the first part I was clarifying was with this. Now there are three other categories. It's structured into your SAICA plus 3 to 5 years work experience, or SAICA plus 6 to 10 years work experience, or SAICA and 10 plus years work experience. Let's just look at what that is saying with respect to your eligibilities, what that means to you, and how you can move that forward. If you move to the next row up. Okay, so we cleared with this. All right, there is obviously, we all know you'll be exempted from, to get to your CAS, you have to first get a degree, a CTA, and the whole requirement to get a degree, a SAICA accredited degree and a CTA, you've been exempted from that. As long as you have from 3 and above. But here is where the difference is. On your CTA, I'm sure you know in the past, to do SAICA Board 1 and 2, you have to have had your CTA. Now, what happens to a CGMA guy who got his first degree or didn't get a first degree, went directly into CIMA, or got a first degree from a program which was not accredited by SAICA? Such a person would not have been able to gain admission into a CTA program. So therefore, would never have been able to actually go. So this agreement simply says, let's make it easy for you. This part is now no longer a requirement. You can go straight and do your SAICA Board 1. So all of these 3 routes, you're allowed to go straight and do your SAICA Board 1. All 3 routes also, you've been exempted from Board 2. Why have you been exempted from Board 2? Board 2 is assessment of professional. It's almost like your top CIMA. Your CIMA is more about the professional side of things, the strategy side of things. And with the 2 evaluations, they came to a conclusion that Board 2 in very many ways represents or mimics what a CIMA guy would have done as part of the T4, the strategic case. So obviously you've been exempted from that. So this is what we know for sure. There are going to be some pertinent questions. What sets the difference between this route, and this route? You will notice there's something we've underlined there. Everything is common. Here it says, but I will require 24 months of SAICA training contract. Here we say, but I will require maximum of 24 months of SAICA training contract. This may be less, depending on my specific work experience. I think that is where the difference is. This says, it doesn't mention any 24 months. It says, depending on my specific experience, some or no articles is going to be required. Let's just quickly talk to that. So it's a given. If you've had experience just between the last 3 to 5 years, you're going in, what we know for sure is that even after passing your SAICA Board 1, you still have to go and do articles. The difference is that you're not going to do a 3-year article, you do a 2-year article. That's a given, there's no negotiation with that. However, if you fall in this bracket, so you could say, I don't want to do articles, I'm confident with my experience, what my experience is basically what I'll be doing in article, or maybe I'm not going to go and do article and be earning 3,000 rand per month, I'm already married, I've got kids and all the rest. So you might want to say, okay, then let me just wait for until when I get into this bracket. As you move towards this bracket, there is a chance that you may be exempted from. It's only a chance. In other words, SAICA will still have to look at your experience and evaluate that. They've said that 24 or no experience. So they have to evaluate what you've been doing during the last 6 to 7 to 8 years and compare that with the article framework and all that and say, look, I think we can exempt you. So within this bracket, you might, obviously, even here, it's also, if you have more than 10 years experience, you also need to submit that. They may also completely exempt you. So what we don't know is what your experiences look like, and if you were to approach SAICA, how SAICA will rule on your experience. That we don't know, and that we cannot guide you with. We can just give a broad analysis, this is how SAICA looks at it, but you still have to approach SAICA and submit that experience so that they can determine what is the best route for you. And obviously, once you've decided then which path you fall under, we've just tabulated there what is required of you. Let me just see if I can zoom that a bit more. You are required to compile some documents, and there's an email there which has been provided. Eligibility, these are the things that SAICA wants. Evidence of membership in good standing with CIMA, your curriculum vitae. Just want to see your proof of your work experience. Compile all these things. If there are any queries, SAICA has made it clear, rather speak to us directly so that we can evaluate your CV. So if we will not be able as Charter Quest to even guide you on that process, all we can say is put together your documents, submit it there, so they can evaluate you and tell you. I'm sure you'll want to know, it's hard work enough to want to do the SAICA Board 1. You want to know how would they deal with my experience, because you don't want to do it and find that you still have to do all this. Okay. Sorry, brief announcement.
Sorry, who owns a black Mazda with the registration number TSW187GP? It seems your car is rolling back right now, so...
You? Rolling. Run. Okay, sure. All right. Sorry for that interruption. Okay, now, so you want to send your documents there ASAP so that that can be evaluated. You know exactly where to give you the certainty that you need. Obviously, subject to you having gone through that, and SAICA has given you an indication where do you stand on your. You're looking at basically passing one exam, that is SAICA Board 1. You pass that one exam, and then depending on what SAICA has said about your experience, you can then have the CASA designation behind your name. And we obviously assist to provide a course with respect to, which is what we respect to helping you pass that exam, which is what I'm going to talk about in the next part of my presentation. Okay, so this is just the essence of that SAICA agreement from the viewpoint of a SAICA wanting to become CSA. I've cut out the other part for CSAs wanting to become SAICA. Are there any specific questions on this part of my presentation? Yes.
Just one question. So on the work experience, is it only after qualifying?
Yes, post-qualification. Once you finish SAICA, you have to wait for 2 years post-qualification. Now, this is now my own analysis. It's got nothing to do with... Now, if this is not done, remember that somebody can leave metric and go straight to do SAICA. It can take 3 years to finish SAICA. And during that 3 years, he could be working and studying part-time, as the case may be. Meaning, within 3 to 4 years, you could have a chartered global management accountant. And surely, if somebody was going through the cycle, he has to do 3 years, 2 years CTO, or 1 year, as the case may do, and you must go do articles only after you've done, whereas with SAICA, you can be working experience. So you can almost get to having a chartered global within 3 to 4 years. But now with the cycle, it's a very long route. You have to first get the degree before you, or if you do articles from Metro, you must do 5-year article. So almost you have to take like 6 to 7 years before even you smell CASA behind your back. You know, but the SAICA, otherwise they've opened up, that's my own interpretation. So surely they will have to say, no, you have to first finish the CGMA, work for 2 years before you even smell this thing. That's my own interpretation, why that has been structured. I don't know, I was not part of the negotiations, but we monitor this thing. That's what I think could be the reason. So it has to be 2 years plus.
So it says post-qualification. So if
Post,
you're
yes.
working for like 7 years before starting your CGMA, you start at point 0.
Yes, yes. Even if you have 30 years experience, as long as during those 30 you had not yet had chartered behind your name, they only start counting when SAICA gives you the seal to say you are today a chartered. The experience starts from there. Everything before, 0. Yes.
But I think the question being asked is the portfolio of work. Does that include all your work since the day you started working, or is it portfolio after being the company?
No, it includes everything. It includes everything. That will help them determine, but it includes everything. Yes. Good question. But you are noting the questions? The questions and the responses we are giving, yes.
Do you have to pass board 1 first before your 2 years articles starts, or can you do it concurrently?
Do you have to pass board 1 before your 2 years?
2 years article, oh sorry.
No. Once they evaluate, they give you a decision. That means you have a right to write board 1.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean they will give you the charter, even after you've passed the board 1. You must go do those 2. Let's say they evaluate and then they said, you are left with 2 years.
Yeah.
Are you with me? You can proceed. It doesn't mean you must go do it before you come and write the board 1. You can do your board 1, pass, and then you go do those 2 years and bring to them before they call you CSA.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Expiry time. So I passed my exam, no problem with that. Maybe a problem might not be, but so I've passed it and I need 2 years. But I don't want to resign right now. I'm in a very attractive job. I want to go another year. How long after I pass that exam can I still do my 2 years, or does it need to be immediate?
Okay, that's a very good question. Answers that I'm not certain about, I will tell you. My sense is that because this agreement is for 5 years, you want to do everything inside these 5 years. So you pass now, you find some time inside these 5 years. We don't know what will happen at the end of 5 years. So that is my safest anchor I can give, which I know will always be true. Good. Yes.
Is it for the top program?
Come again?
Top. So you don't have to go to an auditing firm and get the articles there. It's top.
You mean the articles that are... Okay, as far as I know, SAICA no longer uses the tip versus top. They have a number of core experience and elective experience and residual experience. So you can get that in anywhere as long as the core experience is there. When they evaluate your work, they will tell you the 24 months that you need, what type of experience you need to get. There is for you to go find that and bring it back to them. Obviously through a registered training organization. Yes. Yo, there's so many questions. Yes.
Yeah, I've got SAICA articles, but I didn't qualify as a CA, hence I jumped into CIMA. So how is that going to be taken into account?
Yes, we asked that question and we're assured that if you had already done your articles and it was signed off, you can bring that, it continues to remain valid. Which means you have a real opportunity here to just, the route that you ran away from some time ago, to sneak back in. Yes, and use that same articles. Yes.
Based on the previous question, SAICA doesn't have any triple top.
Sorry, let me just apologize. We did not anticipate so many questions. Can you forgive me if we go past 10 o'clock? Because we have to answer them. But there's a risk that we might overrun 10 o'clock. Just forgive me before we get there. Yes.
Okay. I'll be quick on this one. Does it therefore mean that if you get the CISA qualification, that there's no limitations? You can act in an audit capacity as well as in any other capacity as CISA. Will they allow you to audit?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So there's no limitations as in the past at CIA?
No. Remember that once you become CISA, you have to apply to EBA.
Yeah.
Are you with me? There are things that you need to fulfill there. So if there are requirements, you have to fulfill the requirements of EBA to become a registered practicing auditor. Are you with me? Okay, good.
Okay, more technical question, right? This one says 0 to 2 years and 3 to 5 years. So I'm in between. How does it, do I fall into the first bracket or the second bracket?
It's a good one. I'd imagine we use midpoints to say after 6 months you're in that other bracket. Look, quite frankly, I'd be lying to you. The best is to get that directly from the professional body. The issue of experience is a tiny one. I think the best would be to get that. I'm sure they will exercise a judgment which says this person is 2.5, but his experience in those type of areas we always look for. So let's consider 2.5 to be 3. But this one is 2.9, but is not, so let's consider it to be 2. I'm sure they would make those type of judgment within those cutoff points. I cannot answer for sure. Okay, there's still a portion at the end of the program where we open for questions. So if there are other questions that comes to mind, we're still going to deal with it. It is this part, word of advice from myself. Let me talk to how we've structured this course, linked it to your timeline questions, and then address the issue of study materials in a way that helps you clarify our thinking, how we're approaching this. Here's what we've done. We're saying to do the ITC Board 1, think about it in the following way. When you did top SAICA, if you finish your SAICA prior to 2014, or when you did strategic level case study, if you finish your SAICA after 2015, you would agree with me that you would not be able to pass top SAICA or the strategically unless you were strong with E3, P3, F3. Top SAICA syllabus was basically those 3. Now, the syllabus for ITC is basically CTA. But now you've been exempted from CTA. The question is, can you then just walk in and do the thing? Just as you couldn't walk in to do top SAICA or walk in to do strategic case study, it's suicidal to try and think that you can just go in. Some people take 1 year to do this. Some people, you need to structure over 2 years. Okay, now, so here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to say, okay, you have been exempted, fine, but you need to have the knowledge to go face this integrated test of competency. So what is the best way to structure it? let us take the 5 modules that UNISA will require you to go through had you been going through to do the CTA first. Now, these are the 5 modules that we've basically aligned those to the UNISA codes. We've taken exactly as it is. Financial accounting is so wide that UNISA splits it into almost 2 modules, financial accounting 1, financial accounting 2. So we've taken exactly as it is structured in UNISA. The only thing we've added is the 6th item. To say, okay, these are the 5 subjects that you would either do over a 2-year period or over a 1-year period if you're trying to get your CTA that allows you to then write board 1. So we want to prepare CIMA guys with this same knowledge and content, module by module, and finally integrate that in the same way that you have to integrate it to the same way you integrate it in the T4 or in the top CIMA or the strategic case study, and finally integrate that in the board course to get them ready to write the ITC exam. Okay, so how have we structured? We've then gone back to you, asked the question on material. We've then said, okay, we'll take these 4 modules, find the lecturers that we know are regularly teaching CTA. They're getting students through the board to come and help us to deliver on this program. But what materials do we use? What we've simply done, we've gone back to say, okay, let's look at the prescribed materials that UNISA prescribes for people going through this course. And you find that they are 99% same with what UJ does, because they're all preparing to go and write the same exam. So we've gone back and taken the prescribed materials. Now, I don't know if you can, if you're tall enough, I have here, if you wrote your CGMA before 2014, the 3 strategic level case studies, this was enough to finish. These are 6 books, text kit for the 3 subjects. You wrote this. How many of you passed all 3 strategic level papers in the same sitting? Okay, good number. So you have some good candidates. A good number of people passed it over 2 or 3 sittings. So this is the material. Okay, now, if you have just passed CIMA under the new syllabus, this is the material, almost same size, same quantity. Okay, this is the one for board 1 CTA. This is, I can't carry it. This is it. Okay, I don't know, I can't carry it. Now, so these are the prescribed, not recommended, prescribed. A vast number of them, you will see there is SAICA Handbook 1, SAICA Handbook 2, with SAICA logos. They are all SAICA prescribed handbooks. SAICA, it's all behind each of those documents. To say this is what we're saying, when we examine you, it's going to come from here. And obviously the universities have taken that and that's the prescribed. Okay, so in terms, you ask the question, the materials, that is our story with respect to the materials. So when we say that the course comes with the materials, we mean this. Now, you begin to appreciate, whilst you can take a quarter, maybe 5 months, run a course for strategic level case study, get people ready and their T4 and all the rest. Some people do CTA over 2 years. And you're required to pass all in one sitting, more or less. It's not quite the same. So we have then said, these are the materials that UNISA uses. These are the materials the vast majority of all the other universities use as part of their program. This is the material that we need to give to you and teach you through within a period of 6 to 7 months to get you ready, like somebody who is doing a CTA over a 1 year. Does that answer your question on materials now? Towards the end, I think on page 5 of your brochure, just turn to page 5 of your brochure. Okay, I do realize it's a very colorful document. You notice there are some colors there. I hope you can, we've painted public holidays just to take you through the timetable. There are public holidays there. These are the various subjects. Those 5 modules that we've talked about, this is how we've structured it. As my colleague did mention, the first phase is the tuition phase. So this is what I will call Stephen, I need this thing to be reduced. Try and reduce it for me. Yes.
Are there no CAs trying to do CGMA? Because I've got questions. I was sent to ask questions.
No, there are some. I think by the
I'm saying here so I can ask the question, or must I ask you later?
Okay. Well, when I asked at the beginning, there was no one. There was not a single. Is there anyone CA wanting to do CGMA? There's no one in the hall right now.
Okay, so I'll ask you.
Yeah. Okay, now, we talked about, my colleague mentioned 2 phases. There's a tuition phase, there's the exam prep phase. Let me just try and clarify that. If you look at all these colors here, the colors represent the 5 modules. This is what we'll call the tuition phase. If you look at the blue, they represent the revision phase. Now, SAICA exams are written twice a year, in June and in January. Now, this announcement came up in May. The scope that you can take somebody and prepare them to write the first SAICA exam in January is very limited. So what we've decided to do is say we're going to start our first course to prepare you, but to write in June next year. Okay. So the timetable that you have before you here right now, there are 2 timetables, but the one I'm talking about is the one for the course starting in September. So we're saying we want to start you this September, which is almost in 35 to 40 days time, to prepare you to write in June next year. How do we plan to structure that? Enrollments are open. The course starts, there are 2 sections. There is what is called the evening timetable. The next one is the weekend timetable, meaning you can choose whether you want to study in the evenings or the weekend. Both courses are running here. The evening one starts on the 2nd of October. Here's how we've structured it. We start with financial accounting 1, financial accounting 2, I think we go to advanced, just what is the blue there for me? Tax, and then the brown one? Yes. So if you notice, we've almost structured them like that. Now, a lot of what goes on with the SAICA is driven from financial reporting. So we start by introducing these 2. Every time you see, we start with financial accounting 1 and 2. Now, a lot of what happens on the audit side is driven from the financial reporting process. The taxation is driven from the financial. So we put those 2 to always come after. Because at the end of the day, even though we've structured it module by module, you'll be writing an integrated exam. Are you with me? So it's important that whilst we cover the modules, we begin to integrate how the different modules combine with each other. So that you start preparing your mindset how you'll be using that during the exam. So what does that mean? Let's start with the first 2 financial accounting. By the time we get to these 2, auditing and taxation, we can start applying that to the framework that we've already set up. If you notice the greens, management, there are 5 subjects, there are only 4 year. 4 year, 2 year, 4 year. The first time you see green is way down the line, after we've had almost 2 classes to 3 classes for each of the other ones before you first meet green. What is green? Management accounting. You are all SIMA guys. You understand what management. By the time we say, okay, let's apply this, we want to refer to activity-based costing. You already know what we are talking about. So let us put the initial subjects that you may not be strong on and clear out a lot of mileage on that, and then start bringing management account. That's why we could not put management to start competing with each of those. After we've covered this, we then cover the first elements of management accounting. We go back again, we cover a lot of this, we cover this. That's almost how we've structured it. Obviously over the weekend, you have 12 sessions. There are tests in between. We go 6 sessions, we do a test. Another 6 sessions, we do a test. We take a pause here. There's a board course. If you remember the 6th item we put on the agenda to say at some point, you need to be able to now bring all this together. It's just like we run E3, P3, F3. Then we'll run a top SIMA course to show you how to bring it together to deal with exam questions. So there's a board course which actually starts sometime in May. After we've covered all this material, you've done your test 2, we take a brief pause. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Our final mock here. Now, by the time you finish this final class with debrief your final mock, you're almost left with about 10 days to write your SAICA exams. That's almost how we've structured it. Weekend timetable is almost the same sort of principle. The difference is that this one is evening. So evenings 3 hours per session. Weekends is what you are looking at. We've tried to make sure majority of the class happen during the month as opposed to month end, because finance guys, you're always busy with month end. But where we could not help it, some of the classes are almost at the beginning, but we'll try to make sure majority of the classes happen during the month. More or less same thing. We start again with this, financial accounting 1, financial accounting 2, almost the same sort of process before we get into management accounting. It's all going to happen only on Saturdays and on Sundays. If you choose evening, you miss a class. Okay, I'll now ask Stephen. It looks like if there's still one-on-one, some people would prefer to ask one-on-one. I'm going to be out here. Yes, please. One-on-one question. I'm still going to hang around, answer questions. Please don't get me to say things on behalf of SAICA or on behalf of CIMA. They made it clear to us, this is new. A lot we also don't know, refer them to us. Things that, this is what we know, this is what we don't know. If you don't know this, refer them to us. Don't answer the question. Because after you say, Chatterquest said, you said, who is right, who is wrong? So, it's fine. Stephen, you can come back. Thank you so much. You can clap for me now.